855-450-FREE. Benjamin is listening in Northern California. Hey, Benjamin.
Hello.
Hey, what's on your mind?
I'd like to share my thoughts real quick on police credibility.
All right, sure.
And then give my thoughts on the Vallejo incident.
Right, the Vallejo incident where 2 men were shot, one was killed, one for allegedly putting a gun in a police officer's stomach.
Correct. Now, I've only had half dozen, maybe 8 experiences with different law enforcement agencies. But in my limited experience, it would seem that police have developed a culture in which they take advantage of the fact that people believe them and therefore make statements that favor them, that aren't true.
Well, if in order for them to take advantage of people believing them, they must tell the truth sometimes.
I never said they didn't tell the truth sometimes. Please stop putting words in my mouth.
I didn't say...
You did on Twitter and Facebook.
I wasn't saying that you were saying this. What I was saying...
You did on Twitter and Facebook. Do you want to apologize for it?
No. You said that you assumed that these individuals were telling a lie because of the circumstances with evidence whatsoever. Therefore, you're essentially calling all liars... The evidence is that police
have a tendency to lie. I didn't say they always lie, and I didn't say that all cops lie, but that police have a tendency to lie. And you've got Benjamin here, who's an experienced activist, who's telling you that's his similar observation.
I hear you.
Go ahead, Benjamin.
I think they definitely lean that way. And recently, I was on a road trip with my father to Minnesota.
I want you to tell the rest of the story. Hang on. We'll get to your road trip story here in a moment. 855-450-FREE. They definitely do lean that way, especially when their personal safety's on the line, especially when they've iced some high hippie who set his house on fire. Remember the cops from the DNC back in 2008, I think it was, with the "We Get Up Early to Beat the Crowds" t-shirts. They were wearing their corruption right on their shirts. It's Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live. Dial in toll-free at 855-450-FREE. That's the SACL CAI toll-free line. You can join us online at freetalklive.com. Enjoy the features that we will share with you. Once again, freetalklive.com. We've got news updates, listening options, the Shrine of Female Listeners. We give it all away, so enjoy. And if you would like, you can help support the show. Go to promote.freetalklive.com. You can get a free bumper sticker. The instructions are there as to how to do that over at promote.freetalklive.com. Plus, download web graphics and banners, high-res graphics as well. You can get all of that over at promote.freetalklive.com. The Free State Project is one of the longest-running sponsors of this radio program. They are a group that we were supporting long before they were sponsors of the show, however.
That's a true statement.
Mark, you, myself, and Johnny Ray have all moved here from the South, just by coincidence. We've all moved here to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project for the purpose of achieving more liberty in our lifetime, to get together with others who think on a similar mindset, that is, that liberty is important, and in order to be free, you have to allow others to be free. So if that's something that rings a bell with you, you should really take the time to go to freestateproject.org. Check out their 101 Reasons to Move to New Hampshire. It's on the left-hand side of the page. You have to click one of the top options, and then it'll appear.
Would I be right in describing the Free State Project as a Galt's Gulch type deal?
I don't think a lot of people would disagree with that. I can't say for sure I know exactly what Galt's Gulch is. I mean, I've heard about it over the years, but I've never read the book Atlas Shrugged, nor seen the movies, so I can't say I have personal experience directly with the concept. But if it's something like people want to move away from the horrible, aggressive, state society and do their own thing, then yeah, I think there's a lot of people that would agree with that.
Galt's Gulch was a little more Galt's Gulch was very secretive.
Quite secret, yeah.
Yeah, this is not a secret. We're doing this right out in the open, and people are...
And being successful.
Being active and being successful, and the more people that we can get here, the better off everybody's going to be. So I was talking with an activist from the Philadelphia region recently, and he was talking about the great crew they have down there, and I was like, you know what? It'd be great if that great crew would come here to New Hampshire, as well as all the other great crews of activists from around the country, because you may have a great crew of activists where you are, but are you really accomplishing anything? Are you really doing anything more than the occasional, bit of outreach or meet up with drinks at the bar or the restaurant or something like that? Are you actually seeing tangible increases in the liberty of the people, not just that in your life, but around you.
I think that's the way it starts, though. I mean, I agree with you that if you want to, if liberty is the most important thing to you and you want to provide liberty to other people, that the Free State Project's the way to go about doing that. But I think that it all starts with local groups. We had one in Sarasota.
Well, yeah, we did, but we weren't doing anything that was of any significance. Nothing was being won. No one was doing any civil disobedience or any significant level of outreach above what I did on every April 15th, where I would do some outreach there, and I would do some outreach at the county fair and the gun show and the lesbian pride fest. But all the outreach was being organized by me.
That's true.
And there wasn't really any tangible benefit coming from all that outreach.
And I wonder if people in given areas were honest with themselves if they'd say that there was one or two activists that really were the organizers,
the star activists
in
the
that
leaders.
area.
Yeah.
And if those activists, those activists are going to be tempted because they really care. If they're active, they're going to be tempted to move to the Free State Project. And if they did, what would happen to the local activism? I wasn't by any means a star activist in Sarasota, Florida. I mean, I manned your booth once, I think, and did a couple of things here and there, but picking up and moving, I certainly am far more active than I used to be.
I mean, I'm glad if somebody has a group of liberty-minded folks in their area, and if you're in a big city like Philly, there should be at least a couple dozen of you. So certainly it's a good thing to be around community. But imagine living in a place where you have more liberty activists around than you can possibly know. We have that here in New Hampshire. I can't possibly know all the approximately 1,100 people that are here now as part of the Free State Project. That's just way too many.
I'm really optimistic about the future of the human race. Maybe that's just because I have two alternatives and I pick the one that makes me feel the best. But I'm very hopeful about the human race. I'm optimistic. I think we're going to make the right choices. But the tagline of the Free State Project says it all for me, which is liberty in our lifetime. I want it not just for future generations. I want freedom for me. I want clinical immortality for me.
Right on. Robot bodies. Let's go to Benjamin, listening in Northern California. You're one of those super activists, Benjamin, if I'm not mistaken. You're one of the two guys from Good Men Do Something. Is that right?
That would be correct.
Excellent. And
I don't know that I would call a super activist, though.
Well, I would call you a super activist because you went out there, you did some outreach, you stood behind your principles when the police attempted to, when the police accosted and arrested you, and then you stood behind your principles all the way through a trial where you were found guilty for essentially not doing exactly as the police told you and turning over identification when you weren't, in point of fact, in any legal obligation to actually have that identification on you. But that's a whole other story. So I think anybody that puts their freedom on the line like that is a super activist. And whatever. So go ahead with your story you were going to tell us about. We didn't really get into it.
My father and I and the rest of my family, actually, we refused to fly. So when we wanted to attend my uncle's wedding, my father and I road tripped here from Northern California all the way to Minnesota. Mm-hmm. We drove there, we got there, and while we were there, at the wedding reception, there was a bunch of Mormon Minnesotans, as milquetoast as they come, teetotaling, very nice, jovial people. When it came up that I had been arrested and convicted for the aforementioned criminal behavior, their response wasn't, "Oh gosh, oh goodness, that's crazy." Their response, and I had this conversation with at least 4 individuals, was, "Well, yeah, cops are a-holes." So I left that experience going, it's not just activists standing behind their principles. It's not just, college students running, who are drunk running into cops. It's not just inner city youth running into cops having these bad experiences. It's everyone.
Right. If cops treated people fairly, and if cops treated people honestly and with good intentions in most cases, then they wouldn't have that image problem that apparently they now have amongst good, clean Mormons as well. It's an interesting story. And Benjamin, thanks for that. By the way, you're running for political office out there, aren't you?
Yeah, for city council.
How's it going?
I'm one of 5 people running for 3 positions.
All right.
2 of the people are incumbents. But I feel like things are going well. I got a nice sign that's been put up all around town. It's a small town. We have about 3,000 people here. So got my signs out all around town, and I'm getting a lot of positive feedback. Only had one negative feedback when someone told me he didn't want my door hanger because, quote, he doesn't think people should be allowed to grow marijuana near school. I just laughed because I'm a teetotaler. But his word "allowed," I was like, I just walked away. But in my head,
you are a teetotaler, meaning you don't support or use any mind-altering substances.
I've never used mind-altering substances.
He's an Eagle Scout, Ian.
Well,
I didn't know that Eagle Scouts haven't had a drink.
I've never so much as had a sip of alcohol.
Wow.
Never anything.
Were you raised that way?
He's a Mormon.
I didn't know he was a Mormon.
Not Mormon anymore. But I was raised a Mormon, and it just made sense to me. I like my mental state, and I feel no need to alter it.
Interesting. Well, good. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that. Somebody. You're the only person I know who hasn't ever touched any kind of mind-altering
What I find amusing is that nobody for a second even imagines that it's a problem to have a convenience store that sells beer across the street from a.
But someone growing marijuana.
School.
Oh my God!
Right across the street from my high school, there was a convenience store, and that convenience store had cigarettes and alcohol,
probably aspirin and other things like that.
And but these were specifically mind-altering and addictive substances.
Take too much aspirin, you'll die. Hey, Benjamin, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Sorry. Well, no, that's fine.
No, I mean, real quick.
I was just going to say, it blows people's mind when I tell them I'm for drug legalization and I'm a teetotaler.
That's a great position to take, absolutely, and I thank you for the call.
I had Little Pig's Barbecue across from my high school.
855.
That's mind-altering.
450-FREE. The SACL CAI toll-free line. You take control. Bring up anything. It's Free Talk Live.